coming up very soon. There's different ways. Now, basically, there's two choices. You can mount your racks on your roof, or you can put them on the ground on a rack. And there's advantages to the roof in that it's less likely. Now, how much does a 240-watt solar panel cost? Just one. About $800. So if there's little guys with black masks running around, they could really get a lot of valuable solar panels if they were able to reach them, and the roof is quite an inaccessible place for guys with black masks to go. Fortunately, I haven't heard about solar panels being stolen much in this country, although it has happened in other parts of the world. So that's one advantage.
No, they've been stolen.
Really?
Yeah. The ones over on the college that used to light up the tunnel, that and the inverters were all ripped off.
It's valuable equipment, so you need some way to
How much did you
secure
say
it. So another way is to do a ground mounted rack like this guy over here is setting up. And they can be made of aluminum, which in the tropics is really nice because it doesn't rot. And it really holds up well. But more practical and cheaper to build are wooden structures. And so it just depends how much money and how you like to do things. This type of a rack can also be set up to where the bolts are perhaps bent at the ends or the threads cleaned over, or other methods so that no one can walk away with them. Make it really hard for you later when you need to dismount. But hopefully these don't have cut-off wheels. They make mounting of racks, and if you have a modern roof with a standing ridge seam, you can clip right onto them. Well, that's important because one of the disadvantages with roof mounts is that you can get water leaks at your mounting points, and that's really annoying. The other thing is where the wire goes into the house, unless it's looped around and comes up under the eaves, where the wire goes through also can leak. And the last thing anybody wants is a leaky roof, especially on Maui where it rains all the time. So if you do mount them on the roof, you need to take precautions. Flashing, and there are various systems that you can use to make sure that they're mounted well and don't create a leak. But of course, if they're ground mounted, that's not a problem at all. The other thing is your house might not be in the perfect angle or the perfect position in your yard. Say there's tree shading it like our house. So you can't really put the solar panels on there. And that's something, location of solar panels really needs to be away from trees. It's an obvious thing. But you need to get the light all day long. If you have a bunch of trees and you only get part of the day, then you're only going to get part of the energy out of your expensive solar panels. So if you have trees overhanging your solar panels, you need to cut them off. And you need to kind of find an area. On our place, we found one place where we get the most sun. We put our panels there, raise them up, and they do pretty well. The industry average is to say that the panels get maybe 6 hours a day sun. A good setup would get more like 8 or 10 hours a day sun. So do the best you can with positioning them and mounting them so they get all day sun. And of course they're faced, you notice that they're at an angle. See that ground mount on the bottom right? It's quite a steep angle. And this mount, this industrial mount here is quite a steep angle. And he's putting them on a roof at probably a 30-degree angle here. There's some more. This is a neighbor's solar setup, and he built that on the ground. Put in concrete pilings and used 4x4s and 4x6s, and built a roof, and then mounted the panels on the roof. And he put the batteries underneath, and also the inverter and the charge controller underneath. So basically, from there comes 110 volts right over to the house, which is shaded, so he didn't put the panels on the house. This is easier and cheaper to put up. It's easier and cheaper to maintain than a roof-mounted system. Although most of the local installers will want to do a roof-mounted system. And I'm not sure exactly how that works. Profit, did someone say? This is kind of a cool thing. It's a solar tracking device. And what they do is in the morning, they're face east. And as the day goes on, they continually track the sun. Now, if the sun hits the panels, say this is a solar panel, and the sun hits the panel directly on, you're going to get the most power from it. In the old days, it really was crucial. Now the panels are colored and treated to where it's not as crucial, but you still get more power here than you do, say, at an angle like this, with the this solar tracker keeps the angle of the sun right on it all day, and that definitely more than pays for the cost of the electricity to run the little motor that turns it. However, we're in mountain. We have salt wind. We have corrosion. We have real problems with things getting all corroded and moving parts locking up. So most people just said forget it on the tractors. They were popular for a few years and then they fell out of popularity. But there's still some around and they work. Now, what angle would you think that you should angle the solar panels to get the best size? Anyone have any ideas on that? I mean, should they be flat to the sun? Should they be tilted toward the south a little bit or a lot? Very little bit? What do you think? How many?
21.
21 degrees. Okay, and 21 degrees is what most solar installers will do. Why? Because we are at 21 degrees north latitude, and the sun then will be, if it's 21 degrees, the sun will be half the time over here, comes to the middle, June 21st, and half the time over here. So the sun will traverse it. I, however, have a different slant.
Or you can aim them for the winter sun.
Right. The thing is, living on solar power, what we find is during the summer we're floating in power. We have all the power needs. The days are much longer. In the wintertime, especially when the clouds roll over, we have shorter days and we need the most power we can get. So I built mine at about 35 to 42. So mine are optimized for winter sun. The summer sun is at a bit of an oblique angle, but the days are so long and our cells and batteries are so happy in the summer that this is how I do. And of course, each of you can make up your minds what angle you want to put. And of course, the angle of your roof makes a big difference. If your roof is at 30 degrees and it faces south, well, I wouldn't bother with racking them up. But if your roof, needs a rack set on it, well, then you can choose your angle there. And as we mentioned, you need an air gap between the panels and whatever they're next to so that air can cool them if they don't heat up. Usually you run some kind of stringers along this way that are bolted into the roof, and then you can put your mounts here. This is a fairly big installation, so you can put them on. You can buy kits from Con Energy. They have a sun-top kit that has these little attachments here that thread into slidable things so you can clamp the panels down. You got to clamp the panels down. Why? Because they can blow away. And here you have an $800 panel flying through the air. Well, I've seen this. We had a friend on a sailboat down in the Sea of Cortez, and we were both anchored in this windy anchorage. And his solar panels all blew off one night. And I blew out 2 tanks looking for them, and I couldn't find them. They just disappeared. So anyway, mount them down good. You don't want them to blow away. Yes.
You're saying they don't float?
They don't float. No, they don't float. And I was really amazed at how far they went. Because the water was crystal clear, it was only 30 feet deep, and I swam, hundreds of yards, and I could not find them. Nobody ever found them. I don't know, fishing. Kind of fun. This is our solar setup, and you'll notice that there are all kinds of different non-matching panels here. We have some of those pretty ones over here, the polycrystalline. And then these are string ribbons up here. And these are monocrystalline here on the left. This one on the bottom is a really old 45 watt that just happened to balance out my system. And so putting them all together, they work. I built mine, it wasn't a really good spot, but I put a couple of pier blocks, 3 pier blocks, and I attached it to our little solar house. And I built this little solar house. If you're not going to store your battery, the equipment needs to be protected from the elements, especially the charge controller and the inverter. Even the waterproof ones really shouldn't be left out in the rain, mud, bugs, and all that stuff. So they need a little house. And I laid a slab of concrete down and bolted the walls to it, so that now supports the whole rack. It seems to be pretty steady. And I'll show you inside the little rack there in a minute. Now, when you hook your panels together, in the old days we did it like this. There were 12-volt panels, and we just hooked all